Hey guys, it's Byron here and welcome to Byron's Reviews. Today we are going to be reviewing the movie Dragonquest. And Dragonquest is an Asylum film and it's directed by somebody called Mark Atkins. And from the films I've seen by Mark Atkins, he is, in my opinion, a sort of below average director for the standards of the Asylum. And he's done a ton of films for that company, and they all seem to be the most generic and by the book films of the particular genre he's making a film of. In this case, fantasy, because in this film it's about somebody called Akari who, when darkness overcomes the land, he has to go off to try and save the day because he's the chosen one, find all of these stones that are called the stones of virtue, and in each stone he learns a new value that will help him on his quest. So by that you can probably tell that you're not going to get anything really unique or original here, and that may not be a completely bad thing, because honestly, with these low budget B movies, a lot of the time you just want something you can switch off with and have something a bit easy going and easy watching. And I guess this film would fit in that category. And it does have lots of things that people who like the fantasy genre will love. It has magical spells, like fights with swords and stuff, and of course dragons. And basically, things that I like about this film, I think it has some really nice scenery and really nice locations, like really cool mountains and things like that, and it looks really awesome. And as well as that, I think they make some really nice use of colour. Like, there's a shot near the beginning where one of the characters is looking at this orange sky of this like almost red sun, and it looks really cool with lots of oranges and reds, and I think it has a really nice colour scheme. And also, as you may have heard me say in a previous video, I love the soundtrack of this film by Chris Ridenhour, and it's actually one of my favourite scores Chris Ridenhour has done. It's just really epic and really cool, and during the credits it actually has a version of the film's main theme with some vocals to it, which is really nice, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. But this is a very low budget film, and it does show, and that for some people would be a good thing and for some people would be a bad thing, because the acting, for instance, in this film is really exaggerated and like done to the nth degree. For example, with a character called Maxim, played by Mark Singer, and I loved Maxim's performance. He was obviously putting his all into it, but with all his facial expressions and his gestures and accent, you could just tell that he was really trying to exaggerate his acting. And with a B movie that I guess this film is, I really don't think that's a bad thing, because you're not gonna really get Oscar-worthy performances here. So just to have something that really emphasises the fun nature of these films, I think is awesome. And as well as that, some of the sets and like bits of costume, I guess, do look a bit tacky and they do scream low budget. But both things like that and the acting, for some people, and those people being fans of kind of low budget B movies and Asylum films, will love that, because it really does have a lot of charm to it. But for other people who are expecting a really big scale epic fantasy movie, it may take away from the magic. It just really depends on your taste in films. Having said that, I've got to be honest with you guys. The first time I saw this film, I wasn't that impressed with it. And I think the main reason for that is because there were certain things in the film that I think it could have been explained a lot better. And I didn't really understand a few things. And these things were mainly revolving around those stones of virtue that I mentioned earlier. Because the idea is that each stone represents a new thing that the main character learns by doing a certain task in the film. For example, learning restraint or kindness, just to name two. But there are a few of these stones where it doesn't really fully explain what he's earned them for. And I guess it's a bit more down to interpretation, and that in itself isn't a bad thing, but there's one example that really did confuse me a bit, and it's when he's going through this cave and then he suddenly has to stand really still because this giant spider comes along and he doesn't want the spider to notice him. And then he finds a stone on this dead man's helmet, and yeah, he's got another stone of virtue. And I was just there thinking, wait, what virtue does this stone represent? Is it the virtue of standing still? I didn't really get that, and it didn't really explain it too well. Also, just one more thing about these stones of virtue that they didn't explain too well, and it is a minor spoiler, so there's your warning. But Akadi doesn't even find all of the stones. He finds all but one, yet he somehow manages to defeat the bad guy, which... does that really make sense? And that thing with the spider that I mentioned earlier brings me on to another sort of complaint I have with the film, is that giant spider was shown in the trailer, and I saw that trailer before watching this, and I was like, yes, a fight with a giant spider, count me in. Except he doesn't fight the giant spider, and it's obviously there just for the trailer, and there are a few things that can be seen that as being in it just for the trailer in this film. For example, near the beginning, there's a giant fight between two armies, and one of the armies, I guess you just assume is the army of one of the bad guys, but before that point in the film, you're only shown the main villain and then this big black dragon that the main villain kind of controls. And so it just seems like it's thrown into the story without being put in there for any reason, and it does seem like it's just for an extra cool thing to advertise the film. But I've seen this film 3 times now, and every time I've seen it, I've enjoyed it a lot more, and today when I saw it the 3rd time, I actually quite enjoyed it, because as I said, it has that charm with the over-the-top acting, and like bits of props and sets that ooze low budgetness, which I guess if you just want a fantasy film that's very generic and it has all the stuff that's the genre is known for and you can just relax with it, I guess it's not too bad. But if you want like a really epic fantasy film of like a really high quality, maybe it isn't for you. What this film really is perfect for, I think, is just when you're a bit tired and you've come back from work or school or whatnot and you just want something to relax with. Because honestly, I can't stress this next point enough. Your enjoyment of this film really depends on your mood. If you're in a really critical mood, it's so easy to tear these films apart. But if you're just in a relaxed mood, they can be very entertaining, and I guess that's what B-movies are great for. Oh, and just one more thing. If you want to get the DVD of this film, I'd recommend getting the Dragon Collection 3 film box set, because as well as Dragonquest, it comes with Dragon Hunter and Fire and Ice, which are 2 other low-budget fantasy films. I haven't seen Dragon Hunter yet, but Fire and Ice is a film that I actually quite enjoyed. It's by no means great, but I think it is worth watching if you're a fantasy fan. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to tell me what you thought in the comments, and if you've seen Dragonquest, tell me what you thought of the movie. But until next time, I will see you later. Bye!